We are going to start on a new sculpture. This is a kneeling pose using grog clay. And grog clay is much easier to fire. So I've been specifically using all my grog clay for sculptures. There is no armature inside, and the way I build it is from the ground up. So I'll kind of build a triangle and I figure things out as I go along. And I add clay slowly. Right now the clay is very soft and you need some sort of like structure to support it. And it's the most inexpensive way of sculpting. Water clay is great. It has all the benefits of the oil-based clay, and it's soft so you can make it almost like a liquid, and then you can make it almost as if it's a extremely hard oil clay. So you have the best flexibility from all the clays for sculpting. So at this point I decided that I didn't want the arm looking like the right arm, so I'm going to stretch out this arm and I'm going to dangle it over the box. I still don't know exactly if I'm going to build a box or a tomb or a tombstone of some kind, but I wanted to make it a little bit more dramatic. Her head is going to be on the stone and you're not going to be able to see her face. The reference I'm using is from postpaste.com, and I am just using a few photos. Now I wish I could get models to pose like this, because then I would really see the anatomy of a model. But because I moved the arms around, I'm going to be making and blending different anatomies together. So this is when learning a little bit anatomy helps a lot. You're not going to be able to sculpt a lot of the chest, so I'm going to keep it a little bit more abstract and I'm going to concentrate more on the back. So this is the sacral triangle, and because this particular model is kind of thin, the posterior iliac spine kind of sticks out. And if you have a model that's a little bit on the chubbier side or a little bit more muscular, the two dimples in the back become dimples, but they're really just the iliac spine. I like to use this cloth. I get this from the auto parts store. It's a shop cloth. It has the same consistency that a burlap cloth has. So if I have two muscle groups together, I simply just get the clay nice and moist and use this to blend the muscles together. I keep going back and forth with this towel and the wooden tools. So often I'll start developing the muscles, but they're a little bit too separated. So basically I go over with a cloth or a raking tool and blend the muscle groups together. But I also find that using this sort of cloth helps me abstract things a lot more. And one of the things I see is that people tend to gravitate towards doing details, so when you hit it with this cloth, most of it disappears. This is just simply propping up the arm, because the arm is going to be dangling over the stone, and the stone is going to be adding the wetness to the head and the body, but because that arm is kind of outstretched, the hand is going to be very dry. So I want it to be supported just a little bit more. I really like the silicone tools with the addition of the wooden tools. The silicone tools help draw in and push the clay around, especially when it's very soft as it is right now. That's the spine. You can add a few of the vertebrae, and now I'm going to start indicating a little bit of the foot and the legs. I keep jumping back and forth from the back to the spine to the chest to the knees to the head, and I think I do that instinctively because I don't want my eyes to get tired. If you sculpt one particular thing too long, your eyes will get tired and you'll start to make mistakes because your eyes are just getting used to it. So what I recommend is for you to sculpt everything at once. I like to keep things nice and flat, so I have a series of wooden tools, and Because I tend to do a lot more detail, it helps to have some sort of flatness and just concentrate on using that particular flatness edge, and also creates a little bit more geometry to your sculptures. One of the things I don't particularly like about contemporary sculpture is that people tend to round off everything, and I kind of like to see the various tools that artists have used. So if it's a cloth or some sort of raking tool, I like to see that. I like to see that the sculpture was made by a person instead of a 3D printer. I'm going to start indicating the hand, and of course the hand is going to suggest a lot of the expression. That stick is just simply going to hold the hand while it firms up. And I know that gravity is going to be pushing it down, so I'm going to push it up a little bit, and then as it dries, it'll come down. But I'm not sure what the hand is going to be doing. Perhaps holding onto something or just having a clenched fist. Depending on what I do with this, it could suggest the entire sculpture. But hands at this size are extremely hard to do. You have to be very careful, and each hand is kind of like a portrait. Using the silicone tool, I try to sculpt the knuckles and indicate each individual fingers. You don't need to create wrinkles in the hands, and sometimes the hands look great just suggested with the facets of the geometry. In hard to reach places, I use a rounded wooden tool, and I also draw with my silicone tools where I think the muscle groups are going to be. One of the hard things you're going to find is getting to the places where your fingers cannot. I tend not to use my hands often on sculpture, especially at this size. When something is a little bit bigger, you can use your hands, but because fingers tend to be a little bit rounder, it's kind of hard to get in there. But you do have a lot of feel with your fingers. So if you can use your fingers, then use it. But because of these sculptures tend to be on the smaller side, I can't really do that. So I like to use the silicone tools and the wooden tools for that. Now I'm cutting a little bit of the middle of the legs because I will use that space to kind of support the sculpture, indicating where the gastrocnemius muscle is because it is binding, and the lower leg is going to be having a lot of weight on it, so it's going to look pretty flat, but the bulging muscle of that gastrocnemius is going to come out a whole lot more. Another tool I like to use is a very stiff bristle brush, and this combined with water, you can blend the muscle groups together. And because I can't really reach with my fingers or even the cloth there, I have a little bit more control using the brush. This is going to blend all the geometry together. That way I can redo it and have a little bit more detail. One of the dangers is keeping geometry really round. You want to look for indications of what is happening. It's more important to understand the bones underneath than the muscles in the beginning. This particular silicone tool, I bought it at a ceramics place, and it's a lot stiffer than the AliExpress silicone tools I bought. It's so much better. I believe it's called the Kemper silicone tool, and I love using it, but I wish that one side was flat and one was angled, and so far I only have an angled version. Try to create some volume to the legs because you don't want to round it off. You also want to indicate where the femur is. Usually in the middle of the leg, the femur is going to dip because you're going to have the vastus lateralis on top, and then you have a lot of the fat at the very bottom, and that's going to create an indentation right in the middle, suggesting the planes crossing one another. I also want to indicate the rib cages. Because this model is fairly thin, you should be able to see a little bit of the rib cage. But I also don't want to go too deep, otherwise she's going to look like a skeleton. But if you indicate the rib cage, you can go over it with a cloth and it'll smooth things out and make it a little bit better. So it's good to kind of dig in a little bit deeper, knowing that you are going to be smoothing it out and adding a little bit more clay. So at this point, I am working a little bit on the arm and the hair. The hair is going to be dangling over the arm. Might seem a little bit too dramatic. I haven't figured out if I'm going to keep it there or not. So I'm going to work a little bit on the hand because I want to add just a little bit more detail. That's the styloid process of the ulna. And using the silicone tools really helps, because getting this amount of detail, even if it's just a little bit indication of the geometry, it's very difficult using your hands. Using an angled silicone tool like this really lets you get in small crevices. But I do prefer a flat tool like this to smooth it out. I often go back and forth with adding clay and removing clay. Now, using a bristle brush and some water, I can smooth the geometry together, but still not lose the underlying structure. I repeat this process pretty often. So I'll go over with the bristle brush and then I'll start adding clay again using silicone tools and wooden tools. This is something I keep doing. I should really just commit, but the problem is I keep finding new things, and if I want to emphasize any particular part of the hand, I might indicate that using a silicone tool. I don't want to have a uniform look throughout the sculpture. That's why I use multiple types of tools, including my hands, and with water clay, you have the ability of using water to smooth things out or to make them like a little bit runnier, or even make your sculpture harder so you can carve into it. It is one of the most usable and useful clays out there. I'm very surprised that more YouTube sculptors don't use it. So with the hand, you're starting to see a little bit of the subtle geometry of it. Often you have to do all the underlying skeleton and then the muscles and add the skin on top for the hand to start to look naturalistic. And it takes a very long time. A hand should take you just as long as it takes you to do a head. This part of the shoulder is very complicated because you have the deltoid, you also have the acromion process, and you have the scapula. They're all bundled together. So like you'll have the teres minor, the teres major, the infraspinatus. Look through an anatomy book to really understand what's going on. Now I'm going to concentrate a little bit on the feet. The feet are also something that takes a very long time because they are very complicated, but I tend to make it a little bit more subtle. This is going to be a series of videos on this particular sculpture. I am midway done. I haven't scooped the insides yet of the sculpture. Once you do that, keep in mind that your sculpture is going to dry out a whole lot more than it will if you just keep it solid. And for this grog sort of clay, you don't need to scoop out as much as you would without grog. So keep that in mind. That is the first video for this session. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.